couldn't believe my eyes. Simone, my spouse for 5 years, was shirtless on the lap of a guy in the hot tub below. Their expressions made it evident they were engaging in lovemaking activities. Fuming, I angrily filmed a brief video with my phone. Although I contemplated changing into swim trunks, I decided against it, opting to sit in the room, pondering why she didn't want me at the party. She seemed genuinely happy. Now the reason behind her contentment became clear. Earlier that week, I came across a text on her phone regarding a company Christmas party with a +1 invitation. When I broached the topic, she tried to dissuade me, voicing concerns about potential boredom amidst discussions about finances with financial experts. Perplexed, I asked if she felt embarrassed to be seen with me. She reassured me, clarifying that it wasn't about embarrassment but rather the expected tedious conversations about money at the event. Usually, her company's monthly parties were for staff only, resulting in Simone staying out late into the night or even the next day. While I hadn't previously made a fuss about it, now I gained insight into what transpired at these gatherings. I responded with understanding, acknowledging her explanation. She then suggested that if I decided to attend, I should ensure my tuxedo was cleaned. However, she cautioned me, expressing skepticism about whether I would find the event enjoyable. On the day of the party, she recommended I bring swim trunks, prompting me to question the appropriateness of swimwear for a December Christmas party. She explained that they usually end up in her boss's penthouse after the main party, which has a nice hot tub. I acknowledged this information, and she admitted that they do this pretty much every time. She then requested that I promise to be on my best behavior that night, to which I assured her that I always am, though it didn't sound promising. Curious, I asked why she was sharing this information with me. She explained that these parties could get quite wild sometimes, and she didn't want me to get upset, mentioning that the guys there are quite friendly and can get pretty handsy. I inquired about potential issues, stating that as long as everything passes the husband test, there shouldn't be any problem. In response, she smiled and kissed me on the cheek without verbalizing anything. At the main party, Simone introduced me to her friend Linda, stating that I was her husband. Linda smiled at me and questioned the term husband, suggesting that it was going to be fun and referring to Simone as a wild and crazy girl. Wondering about the meaning behind Linda's comment, Simone smiled and giggled. She informed me that she needed to go mingle and instructed Linda to accompany her to get something to drink, specifically asking for wine. They left. I went to the bar, ordered her wine, and got a beer for myself. Despite scanning the area, Simone was nowhere to be found. I searched for her but found no trace. After half an hour, I settled at an empty table, hoping she'd come looking for me. Meanwhile, I observed the lively dance floor, feeling ignored as people walked around me as if I were invisible. It seemed she was right. I wasn't having any fun, and I grew increasingly frustrated that my wife had abandoned me. After nursing my beer for a couple of hours, I decided to call it quits. If Simone wasn't going to spend time with me, I'd head home and leave her with her friends. As I walked to the entrance, Simone and Linda approached with 3 other guys, one with his arm around Simone's waist. Simone skipped introductions, expressing a slightly intoxicated greeting of, "Oh, there you are." When she kissed me, I detected the taste of tequila and something. I mentioned that I was about to go home since she had abandoned me 2 hours ago, asking where she had been. Simone blushed, avoiding eye contact as the guys smirked, and I chose not to confront them. Linda explained that they had been having a few shots. Simone looked puzzled at Linda's explanation, leaving me curious about the situation. I asked Simone about the shots, mentioning the taste of tequila and something else. She dismissed it, saying they were heading to Ben's place where the hot tub was warming up, and she asked if I was ready. I replied affirmatively and inquired if I would get to spend some time with her or if she planned to abandon me again that night. She assured me not to be silly and mentioned that I would see her later. She decided to ride with Linda and the guys, suggesting it was okay if I followed. I suggested she ride with me, but one of the guys grabbed Simone's hand and pulled her away, irritating me even more. They left, with Simone and Linda following the guys, and laughter echoed as they departed. I got my car and followed them. Upon arrival, I saw Simone in a bikini, leaving me puzzled. When we got there, Simone was already in the hot tub with the 2 guys, later revealed as Ben and Dale, the senior partners in the firm. They appeared to be nothing more than affluent frat boys. After they left, Linda approached me and inquired if I thought we could meet up later that evening. I replied by questioning what made her believe I would be inclined to do so, emphasizing that I'm married. She seemed surprised, mentioning that she had assumed we had an open marriage based on Simone's interactions with other men, particularly the way Simone had kissed me earlier. Perplexed, I asked her to clarify what she meant by Simone's earlier kiss. Linda disclosed that Simone had already been involved with Ben and Dale. Disgusted, I felt a wave of nausea, and Linda's expression changed as she realized my shock. She exclaimed, "I acknowledged that I didn't and asked how long this had been happening." Linda revealed that it had been going on ever since Simone joined the company over a year ago. Shocked, I processed the information, realizing that Simone had been involved with them the entire time, and I had been completely unaware. I questioned if that was what she was doing at the party. Linda disclosed that Simone had been involved with 2 guys and a few others, expressing apologies and assuming I knew about it, to which I replied sarcastically, expressing skepticism about feeling the love. Linda suggested I go upstairs and change, hoping Simone would keep herself under control with my presence. I scoffed at the suggestion but headed upstairs. That's when I saw her with those 2 guys. Despite my love for her, I found it intolerable and decided to confront her, going downstairs. Simone greeted me as I reached the bottom of the stairs, questioning why I wasn't in my bathing suit and if I was joining them in the hot tub. I grabbed her arm, pulled her into a nearby room and closed the door, demanding to know if she would ever tell me about having an open marriage. I mentioned what Linda had told me and played a video on my phone showing her with the 2 guys in the hot tub. I questioned the situation, wondering if she aimed to humiliate me further after abandoning me at the party. Simone downplayed it, claiming they were just having fun, admitting to lovemaking acts with them, and asserting it didn't mean anything. Shocked, I disagreed, emphasizing that it meant everything. I took off my wedding ring and placed it in her hand, then removed her rings from her left hand. She asked what I was doing, and I told her I found her actions disgusting, expressing my current hatred towards her. I wished her a Merry Christmas, mentioned I would be seeing a lawyer about a divorce on Monday, and instructed her not to bother coming home. Despite her pleas and declarations of love, I remained indifferent, stating that I no longer cared about her desires. Asserting that I knew the truth and understanding why she didn't want me to come with her, I bid farewell to Simone and left. One of the guys, uncertain which one, called after me, questioning why I was leaving so soon and complimenting Simone. I replied casually, saying she was now theirs. Leaving the penthouse, I went downstairs to my car and drove home. Simone began calling and texting me, but I ignored her attempts to reach me. Upon arriving home, I deleted her messages and blocked her number. I changed out of my tux, grabbed some trash bags, and started tossing her clothes and things into them. I put them into her car and pulled it out of the garage. I removed the garage door opener and changed the code so she couldn't get back inside. By then it was about 2:30 a.m., and I was dead tired. I fell on the bed and instantly went to sleep. I woke up the next morning to the sound of our house phone ringing. I picked it up without thinking. "Yeah," I said when I answered. Simone called, requesting me to come and get her. I responded that she was no longer my concern. She pleaded for a conversation, but I insisted that any communication could go through my lawyer. I informed her about her car being in my parking space with all her belongings packed, and then I hung up. Despite her immediate callback, I disconnected the house phone, having no intention of encountering her face or hearing her voice again. I fell back on the bed and went to sleep, plugging the phone back in. When I got up that afternoon, after I finally woke up enough to be coherent, I looked and saw that her car was gone. Good. Maybe she finally got the message. I started looking online for a divorce lawyer and read all I could find about the divorce laws in our state. This was a community property state, but we didn't own any real estate, so that wouldn't be an issue. We had no children, so there would be no child support. She made as much, if not a little more than me, so I didn't think there would be any alimony. I also found that while most divorces in this state were no fault, there was a provision to file on the basis of infidelity, cruelty, or misuse that would make the divorce more costly and take more time to resolve, but I didn't care about that. After looking, I noted the number for one Jenny Hawkins, attorney at law, and decided to give her a call on Monday. While making notes, my cell phone rang, and I noticed an unfamiliar number. Considering it could be Simone or anyone else, I chose to answer. A female voice identified herself as Linda and informed me that Simone was staying with her for a few days. I confirmed my intention to proceed with the divorce. Linda expressed concern for Simone, describing her as a wreck, crying in her room and fearing a nervous breakdown. I remained indifferent, stating that Simone brought it upon herself. Linda inquired about any lingering feelings I might have for Simone, to which I responded with current sentiments of hatred and disgust. I stressed that Simone's infidelity had persisted for over a year and that she had the nerve to publicly disgrace me, leading me to conclude that our relationship was over. Linda suggested that Simone still loved me, to which I responded skeptically, questioning Simone's behavior after my departure and the duration of their stay at the penthouse. I inquired if Simone had slept with Ben and Dale again, seeking clear answers. Linda admitted that they all gathered after my departure to console Simone, insinuating that I could have enjoyed the evening had I stayed. I expressed disbelief, wondering where people like her came from, and then ended the call, bidding farewell. After hanging up, I noticed 2 text messages from unfamiliar numbers that arrived early in the morning after I had gone to bed. Upon checking, I discovered videos attached to them. One message read, "Missed one hell of a party, bro. I played the video and witnessed Simone engaging in intimate activities with 3 men at the penthouse. While Ben and Dale were recognizable, the third person was unfamiliar. The man I didn't recognize looked into the camera and spoke. "That's quite a wife you have there, brah," he said with a grin. "Too bad you weren't here." The second video was more of the same, except it ended with Ben having my wedding ring. As Simone held it in her open hand, she looked at the camera with a smirk. My hatred for her only grew exponentially. I transferred the videos to my PC and made a copy of them for the lawyer. I thought about sending the videos to all of her friends and her family, but decided against it, at least for now. The info I got from Jenny's website indicated that I needed to be very careful about how I reacted to her actions. Any negative reaction on my part could easily undo my case. Her site warned okay, so I decided to hold off for the time being. I didn't hear anything from Simone or Linda the rest of that day or the next, which was a good thing as far as I was concerned. I spent the remainder of the weekend eradicating Simone's presence from the apartment. On Monday, I reached out to my boss, detailing the situation, and took a brief vacation, recognizing my diminished worth during this time. My boss, having experienced a divorce from an unfaithful spouse, empathized with my emotions. I contacted Jenny's office, scheduling an appointment for that afternoon. En route to the appointment, I visited the bank, implementing measures to disentangle her from our joint account. I settled her joint credit card and subsequently canceled it, withdrawing half of our assets to establish a new account in my name. Jenny elucidated the divorce laws in our state and proposed pursuing an alienation of affection lawsuit against her employers. Given the evidence I possessed, I entrusted her with the decision. Concerning the delivery of legal papers, I opted for their office, intending for them to experience a degree of the public humiliation they subjected me to over the past year. After our meeting, I paid a retainer and returned home. On the way, I received a call from Linda. "Hello," I answered. She proposed a meeting with Simone that afternoon, to which I declined, following my attorney's advice to maintain distance. She offered Simone's contact information after consulting with someone. After I provided Jenny's contact details, Linda attempted one last time to advocate for Simone. I firmly rejected any possibility of forgiveness, asserting that Simone could anticipate divorce papers soon. I concluded the call and proceeded home, stopping only to purchase a 12-pack of beer and a couple of packs of cigarettes. Having quit smoking when we first got married, I felt the need to engage in something to prevent destructive behavior after arriving home. The house phone rang, and when I answered with a greeting, Ben Carlson, my wife's employer, identified himself. Recognizing his voice from the party, and noting a more professional tone, I acknowledged knowing who he was and asked about his intentions. Ben expressed awareness of my upset feelings about the events on Friday, and claimed that they thought I was okay with my wife's activities at company gatherings. I questioned if he knew she was married during all this, and he admitted yes, but explained that Simone had told them we had an open marriage, and he assumed I was okay with it. I pointed out that he never bothered to ask me about it and inquired about the videos they sent me on Friday night. Ben stated that the videos were Simone's idea and apologized, expressing regret for the situation. He asked if there was anything he could do to make it up to me, to which I responded by outlining my terms. I mentioned my intention to kick his balls into the middle of next week after he testifies against her in court, and the plan to sue him for alienation of affection. I made it clear that if he wanted to make amends, he should accept my terms without any argument, and asked if he had anything else to add. He inquired if I was truly suing them, and I affirmed, emphasizing their violation of their own morals clauses over the past year while destroying my marriage. He dismissed it, claiming it was all in fun, and they never intended to ruin my marriage. I questioned his expectations, expressing disbelief that I would applaud them for their actions. I suggested he might have been influenced by internet stories. He pleaded, proposing that we could work through the situation, and he worried that a lawsuit could ruin them. I dismissed it as not my problem, and ended the call. Grabbing a beer, I went to the balcony for a smoke. I didn't hear from them until Wednesday when they were served at Simone's office. Linda expressed disbelief at my actions, stating that I didn't give Simone a chance to explain and highlighting her current humiliation. I remained indifferent, stating that I didn't care about Simone's feelings after what she did and instructed Linda not to call again, slamming the phone down. A few moments later, I received another call from a number I recognized as coming from Ben's office. I answered, yelling, and he insulted me, threatening to kick my rear. He accused me of ruining his life and vowed to ruin mine in return. I slammed the phone down and called Jenny to tell her about Ben's threat. "Good," she said. "I'll file for a temporary restraining order against Simone as well as her cohorts today. I'll make sure you get a copy of the order. Remember what I said. Don't do anything reckless. What if he comes after me?" I voiced my concern. "Make sure you have witnesses and don't provoke anything," Jenny advised. I grasped the gravity of her advice. Later that afternoon, there came a knock at the door. True to her promise, Jenny had filed the order of protection, and a courier had just delivered my copy. To bolster my security, I opted to install a small motion-activated camera to monitor the front room. Additionally, I kept a sturdy Louisville Slugger near the front door, just in case. If Ben or his cohorts decided to act on their threats, I needed evidence and a means of defense. Things remained relatively peaceful for the rest of the week. Thankfully, I didn't hear anything from Linda, Simone, or her boyfriends until Saturday night, that is. I was sitting on my balcony nursing a beer and a cigarette when I heard my doorbell. That was followed up by pounding on the door. I ground out my cigarette and went into the front room and looked out the peephole in the door. Sure enough, it was Ben, and I could discern someone with him. As the pounding on the door continued, he shouted for me to open up, claiming I was violating a restraining order. I informed him that I was calling the police, and he protested, yelling for me to open the door. I continued dialing emergency, and when the operator answered, I explained the situation at my door. The operator informed me that they had received multiple calls for that area and dispatched cruisers to my location. They advised against opening the door until the officers arrived, and I thanked them before ending the call. The pounding on the door continued, and I wondered if Ben was going to break it down. Clutching the bat tighter, I waited and heard a commotion. Looking through the peephole, I saw 2 large police officers putting cuffs on Ben and the other man with him. The officer knocked on my door, identifying themselves as police. I opened the door and Ben looked at me as the officer led him back to the cruiser, yelling threats. The officer asked if I knew him, and I nodded, showing him a copy of my trope. He read it, spoke into his radio, and informed me that they would be taking them downtown for the night. I explained my story, and he thanked me for the cooperation, expressing that he didn't think Ben would give me trouble for a while. I closed and locked the door, then returned to my balcony with a fresh beer. The news of Ben's arrest hit the papers the next day, with the headline reading, "Hedge Fund CEO Arrested." Articles revealed that several clients were leaving SG due to the company's involvement in ruining employees' marriages, impacting their bottom line. I thought, good. Returning to work the following Monday. It was challenging, but I managed to get some work done. After about 3 weeks of no contact, I received a call from Jenny. She greeted me and asked how I was holding up. I replied that I was doing as well as could be expected, and they petitioned the court for marriage counseling. The judge had agreed, ordering 6 sessions starting that week. I inquired if they could mandate marriage counseling, and Jenny affirmed that they could. She advised me to attend, explaining that not showing up could result in contempt of court and even jail. I expressed my unwillingness to reconcile with Simone, and Jenny understood but emphasized the importance of my attendance. I reluctantly agreed, and Jenny mentioned that if the counselor perceived no hope for reconciliation, they would inform the judge. I asked if there was anything else, and Jenny revealed that Simone's attorney informed her of Simone's pregnancy. I expressed frustration at the prospect of waiting another 8 or 9 months for any legal actions. Jenny confirmed this delay, adding that if the child is mine, I would be ordered to pay child support. On a positive note, she informed me that the judge approved a legal separation until Simone gives birth. I sarcastically commented, and Jenny provided the counselor's address, wishing me luck. I noted the information on my calendar. I decided that I would make it clear in no uncertain terms there was no way I would ever reconcile with the cheater. When I got to the counselor's office, I was ushered right in. A somewhat older woman looked at me over her glasses. Simone sat across from her in a love seat, looking somewhat forlorn. I had a very bad feeling about this. The counselor, Dr. Abigail Farnsworth, introduced herself and gestured for me to take a seat beside Simone on the love seat. Opting for a smaller wooden chair positioned at a 45-degree angle to the love seat, I made it clear that I felt compelled to be there. Dr. Farnsworth acknowledged my sentiments but expressed gratitude for my presence nonetheless. She then turned to Simone, asking about her aspirations for the sessions. Simone voiced her hope for reconciliation, highlighting the impending arrival of our baby and her desire to restore our family. Reacting with skepticism, I turned to Dr. Farnsworth, sharing my perspective and emphasizing that reconciliation was not on the agenda, casting a glance towards Simone. I noticed Simone recoiling at my statement. Dr. Abigail nodded in response to my statement about not reconciling for the sake of the child. She asked if I would consider it for the child's sake, to which I reiterated my doubt about being the father, and my commitment to support the child if it turned out to be mine. However, I firmly stated that reconciliation with Simone was out of the question. In response to her repeated question about the child's sake, I took out my phone and showed Abigail the videos that were sent to me, hoping to convey the depth of betrayal. She appeared disgusted after watching them, and as I put my phone away, I remarked on her marital status. I questioned how she would feel if the roles were reversed. And it was her husband in those videos, emphasizing the continuous betrayal over more than a year and even in front of her. She insisted that the focus should be on the two of us and the upcoming child. I informed Dr. Abigail that Simone had a child to consider, expressing my doubt about being the father and expressing a desire for answers from Simone. Abigail, after a moment of consideration, nodded and suggested Simone owed me some answers. Simone, looking down and appearing sheepish with a face burning in embarrassment, finally looked up and agreed to provide answers. Abigail then gave me the opportunity to speak, and I turned back to Simone. I inquired if she knew what was going to happen on the night of the party, and she affirmed. I asked if that was the real reason she didn't want me to go, and she admitted it. Reflecting on the terrible experience, I accused them of planning to humiliate me, to which she reluctantly agreed. I further questioned if the intention was to humiliate me even more at Ben's place, and she confirmed it, appearing sheepish. I questioned Simone about the duration of her involvement with the other men at SG, and she admitted it had been ongoing since she joined the company. Puzzled, I asked for the reason behind her actions, to which she casually replied that she enjoyed it, finding it fun, naughty, and exciting, making her feel handsome. When I inquired about the number of men she had been with, excluding me, she nonchalantly mentioned around 4 or 5 dozen. I expressed shock at the revelation, emphasizing the potential risks of venereal diseases. Outraged, I asked if she knew the father of the child she was carrying, and she admitted uncertainty, confronting her expectation for me to raise and financially support the child. I criticized her, stating my lack of love for her anymore and expressing strong resentment, even hoping for a negative outcome. Simone and the others appeared shocked by my words, and Simone seemed on the verge of tears, though my anger remained unabated. In my attempt to inflict more emotional pain, Abigail intervened, signaling that I had made my point. I rejected the notion that I was discarding 5 good years of marriage, attributing the breakdown to Simone's infidelity. I contested the characterization of our marriage as 5 good years, emphasizing that the last year wasn't genuine. Following Simone's confession of involvement with 48 to 60 men and doubts regarding the paternity of her child, Dr. Abigail concluded the session, expressing her intention to hold individual sessions with each of us before deciding on the next course of action. We scheduled our appointments for the following week and departed. In the parking lot, Simone called out to me, but I ignored her and proceeded to my car. As I drove away, I glimpsed Simone sobbing over her steering wheel, and a sense of satisfaction washed over me, deeming it a fitting consequence for her actions. Later that night, I received a furious call from Linda, blaming me for Simone's distress. She informed me that Simone was hospitalized due to an incident and accused me of mistreating her. I defended myself, asserting that I merely spoke the truth, juxtaposing it with Simone's behavior over the past year, to which I responded with indifference. She criticized me as a loser and emphasized that I should at least provide insurance information, as Simone was still legally my wife, and I would be responsible for the bills. After a moment of reflection, I decided to visit Simone in the hospital, acknowledging the information Jenny had shared earlier. Linda provided me with the room details, and upon arrival, I approached the nurse, providing my insurance information, and briefly discussing Simone's condition with the doctor. I inquired about the cause of the mishap, to which the doctor explained the complexities of pregnancies, leaving the specific cause uncertain. Curious about the duration of the pregnancy, I learned that Simone was approximately 9 or 10 weeks along, leaving a possibility that the child could have been mine. Nevertheless, I considered it inconsequential, as the mishap signaled the opportunity to proceed with the divorce. After inquiring about Simone's well-being from the doctor, who assured me she would be fine, I entered her room. She appeared distressed in the bed, tears in her eyes. Linda, positioned at the end of the bed, expressed her displeasure, to which I responded with a growl, causing her to retreat from the room. Facing Simone, I acknowledged the finality of our relationship. She questioned whether I truly hated her as much as I had claimed earlier, and I admitted that, at that moment, the intensity had lessened. However, I emphasized that reconciliation was out of the question, given the breach of trust she had demonstrated. Expressing my frustration, I conveyed how each trip she made to the store left me wondering if she was involved with the checkout clerks. I questioned the sudden turn of disrespect, emphasizing that I had treated her exceptionally well throughout our years together. She denied any wrongdoing on my part, and acknowledged my role as a devoted husband and lover. However, I countered, stating that if that were the case, she would have resisted the advances of others. She admitted succumbing to the influence of others who claimed that it was normal for husbands to witness their wives with other men. I dismissed her explanation, emphasizing that the divorce was inevitable and any attempts to salvage the relationship were futile. In response to my decision, she tearfully accepted, agreeing to inform her lawyer the next day. I sternly clarified that any hopes of friendship were unrealistic. Despite her apologies, I remained resolute in my decision to end the marriage. I looked at her for a few moments. "Yeah," I said as I started to leave her room. "Goodbye, Simone." I could hear her cry as I walked away. Tough luck, I thought. Good riddance. A few days later, I received a call from Jenny. True to her promise, Simone abandoned all objections to the divorce. Abigail's report concluded that reconciliation was unattainable and recommended anger management for me. This suggestion was echoed by the judge, although it wasn't mandated by the court. Jenny successfully negotiated settlements from SG funds, as well as from Ben and Dale, although it fell short of a court order. Approximately a month later, Jenny handed me a substantial check, the largest I had ever received, minus her fee, of course. "Certainly," I replied as I deposited the check and moved forward with my life, or what was left of it. SG, or Sodom and Gomorrah as I often referred to it, closed its doors about 6 months later, seemingly due to a loss of trust in the company's financial integrity by its clients. Wonder why? I cynically mused to myself. Ben and Dale remained silent after that incident at the apartment. Both served a 30-day stint in the county jail for their stunt and seemed keen on avoiding a repeat, but their reputations tarnished in the community. They sought a fresh start on the West Coast. Simone and Linda continued sharing the same apartment, transitioning to employment in a strip mall retail store specializing in women's clothing and cosmetics. I encountered them occasionally but never acknowledged their presence. Remaining single, I casually dated over the next couple of years. Eventually, I met Claire Hansen, a recent divorcee, and we embarked on a slow and easy dating journey for a few months. She had experienced the pain of infidelity in her previous marriage. Understanding her hurt, I provided all the support I could. In the initial weeks, our activities revolved around conversations or outings for dinner and a movie. Recognizing her vulnerability, I took the time to engage in comforting activities such as holding hands and enjoying leisurely strolls through the park. Despite finding her attractive, I opted to let her take the lead. After a delightful dinner at her condo, she observed me with a curious intensity, questioning whether I found her appealing. Responding with a smile, I assured her of my attraction, stating that it extended beyond physical aspects. Curious about my lack of initiative, she playfully inquired if I liked girls. My response conveyed a positive outlook on the situation. Second story, my wife cheats on me with my dad. Hello everyone. I never write on Reddit, but I need to vent and share a situation that has left me very confused and sad. I have discovered a family secret that has rocked me and has me at an emotional crossroads. For a decade, my wife and I have shared a marriage filled with love and what I believe to be unbreakable strength. Lately, though, her behavior has taken a peculiar turn. Clandestine phone calls, mysterious messages, and unaccounted for late-night ventures, all accompanied by an inexplicable aloofness. Initially, I attributed it to work-related stress or perhaps personal challenges, but as time passed, uncertainty crept into my mind. One day, I came home unexpectedly and found my wife in a compromising situation with my father. The scene left me stunned, a mix of pain, confusion, and disbelief. I couldn't find the words. I just managed to leave the house and wander the streets aimlessly. The following hours were torment. How was it possible that the people I loved the most were hiding something so big from me? What had I done to deserve this? In the end, I returned home and confronted my wife. She, amidst tears and pleas, confessed everything. The relationship with my father had started months ago, in secret, fueled by a forbidden passion that consumed them. I cannot deny that I felt immense pain, a betrayal that hit me to the core. My world has been shaken. My family has become a scene of uncertainty. I don't know what to do, who to turn to. I have thought about divorce, but the idea of breaking my marriage fills me with sadness. I love my wife, despite everything. And although my father's betrayal disgusts me, I cannot deny the affection I still have for him. I feel trapped in a web of lies and secrets. I don't know how to move forward, how to rebuild my life after this devastating revelation. Thanks for joining us on this chapter of Relation Tales. If you were moved by these stories, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Don't miss out on the upcoming emotional roller coaster of relationships. Your support means the world, and we can't wait to share more compelling tales with you. Until next time, remember